All right, buckle up, because today we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into the minds of some seriously impressive people.
Oh, I like where this is going. Those folks who always seem to be operating at a whole other level.
Exactly. The chefs, the CEOs, those athletes who just seem to consistently crush it. We're on a mission to uncover the kind of strategies that take someone from ordinary to extraordinary.
Love it. So who are our guides on this little venture?
Well, we've got two incredible books as our compasses today. Hidden Genius, The Secret Ways of Thinking by Polina Marinova-Pompliano, and Master of Change, How to Excel When Everything Around You is Changing by Brad Stulberg.
Those are some pretty hefty titles. Sounds like we're about to unlock some serious potential.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so easy to look at these high achievers and think, well, they were just born with that it factor. But what really struck me about these books is that it's less about inherent talent and way more about adopting certain mindsets, specific strategies to tackle challenges head on.
It's like that aha moment when you realize you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Just got to find the right blueprint.
Yes, 100%. One of the stories that really got me fired up in Hidden Genius was about a young Kobe Bryant. Pompliano talks about his visits to what she calls GOAT Mountain.
Okay, now you have to tell me more about GOAT Mountain.
So picture this. Young Kobe, already crazy dedicated, decides he wants to learn from the absolute best. I'm talking legends like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird.
Mark Kidd.
Right, and he wasn't content with just putting in the hours on the court,
Yeah.
He actively sought out these mentors, these legends, to just soak up their wisdom.
Wow. That really shifts the perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here's this athlete, destined for greatness, and he still feels this need to seek out guidance, to learn from those who came before him. There's a real humility to that, a hunger for growth.
And it's something we can all learn from. It's not about thinking you have all the answers. It's about that constant desire to learn and grow.
And that ties right back into the whole hidden genius concept, right?
Totally. It's not about some magical superpower. It's recognizing we all have that potential for greatness within us.
The key is unlocking it.
Exactly. And how do we do that? By studying the wins and losses of those who inspire us.
That's huge. We often shy away from examining failures, but they hold so many valuable lessons.
It's like they say you learn more from your mistakes than...
Or successes, yeah.
Yeah.
And Hidden Genius gives another great example of this mentorship thing with Steve Kerr.
Wait, Steve Kerr, the coach, what's his connection to mentorship?
Before he was a coaching rock star, he basically went on this mentorship tour. Spent time with legends like Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, absorbing their knowledge, their philosophies.
He was actively seeking out different perspectives to shape his own coaching style. I love that.
Even someone like Steve Kerr, at the top of his game, recognizes the value of mentors.
It just goes to show you there's always more to learn, no matter how accomplished you become.
No matter how high you climb, there's always another peak. Right?
And this whole idea of challenging conventions, of pushing the boundaries, it leads us to this incredible story in Hidden Genius about a chef who completely flipped the script on the dining experience.
Oh, I'm always up for a good food revolution. Who are we talking about?
Get ready to have your mind blown, because we're talking about Grant Nosset's and his restaurant, Alinea.
Alinea. Okay, now that's a name that gets foodies fired up.
Right. Imagine this. You're not just dining, you're experiencing an immersive performance art piece. Eating off a tablecloth that's a giant painting, or tasting a tomato that somehow magically tastes like a strawberry.
Sign me up. That's next level creativity.
Etchet's transformed food into an art form. And want to know the secret ingredient that sparked this whole revolution?
I'm all ears.
He simply asked, who says food can't be art? That single question, challenging the traditional definition of dining, opened up a world of creative possibilities. And that's what I love, that willingness to break the mold, to embrace creativity and really push the boundaries. But it's not always easy, is it?
Oh, tell me about it. Both of these books actually challenge that traditional view of failure.
They don't see it as something to avoid at all costs.
Not even a little bit. More like a stepping stone, actually.
I love that. I even wrote down this phrase from Hidden Genius, failing into success.
Yes. It's that recognition that setbacks are inevitable, but they're also incredible opportunities. It reminds me of rugged flexibility in Master of Change.
Okay, I'm feeling the rugged part, but break down rugged flexibility for me. What are we talking about here?
It's about being adaptable, rolling with the punches, not clinging to rigid plans when the world throws you a curveball. And let's be real, we're living in a time where those curveballs are coming in as faster than ever.
It's like the universe is playing dodgeball and we're the target.
Right. And that's where rugged flexibility comes in, that ability to bounce back, to adapt and pivot when plan A goes out the window.
So how do we actually cultivate this?
Well, Hidden Genius tells this great story about Ed Catmull, the president of Pixar.
Get out of here, Pixar.
Yeah. And get this, he actually encourages his team, these brilliant animators, to make big, juicy failures.
Wait, really? That seems counterintuitive.
Right. But he believes that's where the real magic happens. You can't have true originality and innovation without taking risks, even if it means things don't always go according to plan.
It's like we're conditioned to fear failure, but they're over at Pixar saying, bring on the mess-ups, let's see what we learn.
And then you've got David Goggins, an ultra-athlete who takes this whole embrace the suck thing to another level. We're talking running 135 miles through Death Valley in the blazing heat.
Okay, now that's a different kind of juicy failure.
He actually seeks out those extreme challenges to push his limits physically and mentally.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
But it highlights the power of getting uncomfortable, stepping outside those comfort zones to grow.
So we've got Pixar embracing big, juicy failures and David Goggins running through Death Valley. Two very different approaches, but both centered around resilience.
Absolutely. And Hidden Genius also shares this incredibly moving story of resilience on a personal level with Anthony Ray Hinton.
Oh, man. His story was so powerful. Wrongfully convicted and sentenced to death row.
Almost 30 years, can you imagine?
It's unimaginable.
And yet, despite that horrific experience, he found ways to not only survive, but to find meaning and purpose within prison walls. He clung to hope, educated himself, and when he was finally exonerated, he emerged as this incredible advocate for justice reform.
A testament to the strength of the human spirit. If he can find that kind of resilience, what are we capable of overcoming?
It makes you think, doesn't it?
And I think that's where those connections come in. Because facing those challenges alone, that's got to be so much harder.
Absolutely. Both books emphasize that mastering relationships is crucial, especially when navigating change and uncertainty.
In Hidden Genius, Pompliano poses this question. How do we even begin to build trust in a world where things are constantly changing? Such a good question. Because in today's digital age, it's easy to feel like genuine connections are few and far between.
It's like trying to build a house on shifting sand, right? How do you create those solid connections when everything around you feels unstable?
Well, Hidden Genius explores this idea from Naval Ravikant, this concept of compounding trust.
Compounding trust.
It's like making an investment in a relationship. The more you put in, the more it grows over time.
So those small acts of kindness, showing up authentically for each other, they really do add up.
They do. And it's not about some grand gesture, it's about consistency, which really ties into that path mentality in Master of Change, right?
Because relationships, just like life, they're always evolving.
Exactly. It's about being adaptable, embracing the unexpected detours instead of clinging to a rigid plan. Love that. Okay, but let's get practical for a minute. How do we navigate those inevitable tricky moments in a way that builds trust?
Well, Hidden Genius talks about Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator.
Hostage negotiation. Talk about high stakes.
Right. And he uses these fascinating techniques. Mirroring, repeating keywords back to someone to show you're truly listening, speaking in a calm tone, even in those high-pressure situations.
And that really works.
It works wonders for building rapport and easing tension. And the cool thing is, you can totally apply these techniques in your everyday life, too.
It's about being present, empathetic, finding common ground. Those are valuable skills no matter the situation.
And then Hidden Genius brings up the 5-to-1 ratio from the Gottman Institute. Their research on relationships found something really interesting.
All right, spill the tea. What's the magic ratio?
For every negative interaction, you need 5 positive ones to counterbalance it.
5-to-1. That's a lot of good vibes to counteract the not so good.
It makes you stop and think, right, how often are we focusing on the negative? Cultivating those moments of appreciation, kindness, that can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Shifting that balance. And it makes me think about something else Hidden Genius touched on: storytelling. How does that fit into building trust and connection?
When we share our stories, we're being vulnerable. We're connecting with something larger than ourselves. And those stories, they give our experiences meaning, especially in times of change or uncertainty.
It's like that reminder that we're not alone, that we're all in this crazy, messy, beautiful human experience together.
100%. That sense of connection, that feeling of belonging, it's a powerful stuff. So we've talked about mentors, embracing failures, building strong relationships, but what about those big life-changing decisions? How do we tap into our hidden genius when the pressure's really on?
Ooh, good question. And that's where Master of Change offers some great insights. Stolberg talks about this idea of respond, not react.
Ah, yes. Instead of letting fear or stress dictate those knee-jerk reactions, we make intentional choices. It reminds me of Garrett McNamara, big wave surfer.
The guy who rides those monster waves, talk about pressure.
Right, and he talks about staying calm, present, even when facing those massive walls of water, slowing down your breathing, focusing on what you can control, trusting your training.
Wow, that's next level composure.
And then you've got astronaut Chris Hadfield using this incredible methodical approach to problem solving in space. Master of Change talks about how he dealt with an issue on the International Space Station, had to fix his visor while in space.
No pressure there.
Right, exactly. But he didn't freak out. He just systematically worked through the problem. And it just highlights the importance of preparation. He went through tons of simulations on Earth, so when the unexpected happened in space, he was able to stay calm, think clearly, find that solution.
He was ready. And I think so much of this comes down to having those tools, those strategies in place so that when that pressure hits, we can respond effectively instead of just reacting out of fear or overwhelm.
Which is where something like the Eisenhower matrix comes in, right?
Yeah.
A practical framework that Master of Change suggests, prioritizing those tasks based on urgency and importance.
I'm all about a good framework.
It helps you cut through the noise, zero in on what truly matters.
Creating that mental space, love it. So we've covered a ton of ground here, from mentors to mindset shifts to relationships to decision making. It's got me thinking, what's your hidden genius? What are those strengths and passions that make you, you?
It's about recognizing our own potential, and Hidden Genius talks about a content audit to help with that.
A content audit.
Taking stock of the information we consume, the people we surround ourselves with, basically everything we're allowing into our minds. It's like, what are we feeding our minds?
Curating that mental diet like Stolberg talks about in Master of Change. Are we seeking out inspiration or negativity?
And Popliano leaves us with this question inspired by Elon Musk. What is the software running in your head?
It makes you examine those deep-seated beliefs, right?
Yeah.
The ones that shape how we see the world. And on that note, another powerful question from the book: what idea do you embody?
Oof, that one hits hard. Aligning our actions with our values, our truest selves.
And that's what this deep dive has been all about, really. Extracting that wisdom, those actionable insights that we can apply to our own lives.
Embracing change, discovering those hidden talents, stepping into those best versions of ourselves.
We hope this deep dive sparks some ideas, some inspiration, and that you'll keep exploring these books. Share your thoughts, those hidden genius moments, with us on social media.
Let's keep the conversation going, because we're all in this together.